The continuing resolution nobody voted for and cannot be repealed. 905 words. There is a funding mechanism called the continuing resolution. It appears in no single law you have ever read, because no law created it as a governing system, and here is the proof. Since 1876, 150 years, the federal government has kept itself running on a device Congress never voted to make permanent and structurally cannot repeal. Here is what it actually is, stripped of the jargon. Congress is supposed to pass 12 separate appropriations bills every year, one for each area of government, each debated, each voted on, each signed. That almost never happens anymore. Instead, when the deadline arrives and the bills aren't ready, Congress passes a stopgap, a continuing resolution that simply extends last year's spending levels for a few more weeks. It sounds like a technicality. It is not. It is now the primary way the United States government is funded, most years, for most of the year. This didn't happen because anyone designed it. It happened because of a law called the Anti-Deficiency Act, first passed in 1870 and tightened in 1884 and 1905, now sitting quietly in the U.S. Code at Section 1341 of Title 31. That statute makes it a federal crime for any agency to spend money Congress hasn't appropriated. No exceptions. So when Congress inevitably misses its own deadline, and it has missed it in all but a handful of years since the 1970s, agencies face a binary choice: shut down or operate under a continuing resolution. No committee chose this outcome. No president signed a bill saying this shall now be the normal way America is funded. It simply became the default, one missed deadline at a time, until the exception swallowed the rule. By the time anyone in Washington thought to question it, an entire generation of federal budget officers had never worked a single fiscal year that started on time. And once it became the default, it stopped being neutral. A continuing resolution freezes last year's priorities in place. It cannot start new programs, cannot adjust for new threats, cannot fund anything Congress didn't already fund 12 months earlier. That means the people who benefit are the ones already inside the system, and the people who lose are the ones who needed something to change. A new veterans clinic that was approved on paper stays unbuilt. A Pentagon program that everyone agrees is obsolete keeps getting money anyway, because the CR cannot say no to something old, only yes to more of the same. Career appropriations staffers, people you will never see testify, never see named in a headline, decide which anomalies, their word, get quietly inserted to keep individual agencies from breaking. That authority exists nowhere in the Constitution. It exists because someone has to make the calls Congress refuses to make, and the people making them were never elected to make them. A hiring freeze at an understaffed federal agency, a delayed cost-of-living adjustment, a grant cycle that silently slips by a year. None of it shows up as a headline because none of it required a vote. It just required the calendar to keep turning while nothing new was allowed to begin. Remember, no one voted for this. Not the mechanism, not its permanence, not the 200 and some odd continuing resolutions that have piled up since 1998. Each one was voted on individually. The system that made them the norm was not. And here is the part that should actually worry you more than the secrecy: it's completely legal. There is no scandal here, no leaked memo, no whistleblower needed. Every continuing resolution is public, published, roll call voted. The hidden part isn't the paperwork. It's the dependency, the fact that the entire government has quietly restructured itself around a stopgap tool never meant to be structural, and everyone inside the building knows it, and no one outside it was ever told to expect it. It cannot be repealed because there is nothing to repeal. You cannot pass a law banning continuing resolutions, because the alternative the Anti-Deficiency Act enforces is a full government shutdown. And no Congress of any party in any year has been willing to let that consequence run its course for more than a few weeks. The only body with the power to end the practice is the same body whose dysfunction created it, policing itself, with no outside court, agency, or voter able to force the fix. Article 1 gives the power of the purse to Congress alone. That means the only lock strong enough to end this is a Congress that stops missing its own deadlines. And the mechanism that lets it keep missing them, forever, without consequence, is the very tool we're describing. If a 150-year-old funding patch can become the invisible operating system of the entire federal government without a single vote authorizing it as permanent, ask what else runs that way. Every agency, every court, every regulatory body has its own version of this: a stopgap, an interim rule, a temporary exception that outlived the temporary problem it solved, until no one alive remembers a time before it, and no one in power has an incentive to end it. So the next time you hear that the government avoided a shutdown, ask yourself what was actually avoided and what quietly became permanent instead.